So we're here with Chris Jones. Chris, you gave the very inspiring opening remarks this morning to the Screenwriter Festival. Could you please just recap on your analysis of the hero's journey and possibly how it applies to the process of screenwriting?
Sure. I've always felt that screenwriters are clearly the architects of any story, and you know, there's a kind of weird magical mystery to what they do. They sit in a dark room and think up ideas and write those down and create this whole imaginary world. And certainly as a screenwriter myself, we tend to use lots of different screenwriting models, like the Sid Field 3-act structure, but the one that resonates with me personally is the hero's journey, which was originally kind of put together in a formal context by Joseph Campbell, who wrote Hero of a Thousand Faces, which was famously plundered by George Lucas for Star Wars. It was then remodified by Chris Vogler, who wrote
Writer's Journey.
The Writer's Journey. It's been a long day. And what resonates with me most is that when I look at that model, it feels very much like the processes that we all go through, sometimes every day, but certainly applies most dramatically to when we have big challenges in our lives. And it's very appropriate to anybody who chooses to write a screenplay, because frankly, sitting down to write a script is kind of bonkers. You know, it's a really crazy thing to do. So you go through many of the same story beats. You have the ordinary world, which is just ordinary life, and then you have the call to adventure, which is, you know, got this great idea, but, you know, better not do it. You refuse the call, because what if it's rubbish? What if I, you know, have to commit a year of my life without pay? What if it just doesn't work? And then you have a meeting with a mentor, and maybe that's your partner, maybe that's a friend at work, maybe that's a screenwriting guru. It can be anybody who gives you the heroic sense that you should go off and achieve this, and then you go into research, which I guess would be tests, allies and enemies, where you're figuring out what it is, and then you approach the inmost cave, which is very clearly lock yourself up in a bedroom and start scribbling away crazily. And what's interesting about the inmost cave is that is where death lives, and of course for a writer, death is really that your script is rubbish, you're not very good, and it is the deep fear that all writers carry, is that what if my work is no good? So you're in that space with the death of your script, as it were, and then you have seizing the sword, which I guess is the moment where it all comes together and really takes form, but then you're really at the edge, because it could all collapse like a deck of cards right now, because you're in the mad zone at this point. You're in the place where you have no perspective, and you hightail it out of there, which is the road back, and then the resurrection, I guess, which is the moment when the film is either green-lit or goes into production, and the return with the elixir, which is when you realise that what you've done is extraordinary, and that thing that you've been so passionate about actually has made it to be a film, and that film itself somehow transforms the community, the global community, as well as your own personal small community. So that's an ad hoc, straight off the cuff writer's journey for writers, the way I would see it. But it is an extraordinary tool and an extraordinary story model that every writer should really look into. It's really a template for how we make decisions in life, how we toy with an idea, then we say, no, we better not. And then you meet with somebody who goes, go on, and then you commit to that decision, and then there's the fallout of what happens during the execution of that decision. And I think that's why this model, above all models, really endures, because it really is a template for how we think as human beings.
Chris Jones, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.